Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Board of Education. The meeting is called to order at 4 p.m. in open session. Tonight, we do not have requests addressing closed session agenda items. And may we take roll?
Student Board Member Lynch,
Aye.
Dr. Al Hessen,
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong,
Aye.
Mrs. Garza,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart,
Present.
Mr. Critchfield.
Present. All right, tonight we are starting with a study session, so Dr. Drotti, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Critchfield. I think I should probably orient everybody that's watching from home why the meeting looks different to did in the past. So we are trying, attempting to incorporate more study sessions in our conversations. And the study session is essentially going to be a time where the board has a board meeting to talk about some information that is going to require more detailed analysis, looking at reviewing the data in order to better have a full grasp of the issues that we are discussing. So there will be several of these throughout the year. We're going to use one of the two meetings each month that'll look like this year, where you start off with a study session from 4 to 5:30. We take a recess and then start the regular meeting at 6 o'clock. So this is our first study session, and it's going to be, the topic will be on safety, and that's just a broad conversation, and it required us to really have a deep dive into understanding where we are in terms of safety and in all aspects of it, and then where we need to go next. So with that, I will introduce Mrs. Stacy Williams, and she'll facilitate the first study session on safety.
Thank you very much, Dr. Drotti. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me here. The focus of tonight's study session is to review our progress in the area of safety and behavior.
What you're looking at here is our district's attempt to capture all aspects of safety that we need to focus on in one document. Because safety, as I mentioned, is such a complex topic, and you can address all different areas. In order to keep us organized and focused on the task at hand, we came up with this mental model that depicts all the different aspects of safety. And tonight, we're going to talk about each of these specific areas in more detail. But this picture here really gives an overview of all the different aspects of safety that will be that we work through and we're going to be living through. So with that, Mrs. Williams, take us through this.
All right, thank you. So as you can see, this is our mental model for safety and wellness, and it's divided into 4 different parts: student and parent engagement, multi-tiered systems of support, safety measures, and partners. Our focus for tonight is to help build the board's knowledge regarding our progress with improving safety and behavior district-wide. During the study session, we'll be taking a deeper look into areas of the mental model, review and analyze safety and behavior data, and review safety and behavior measures in progress and projected for possible future implementation. The supports and resources included in the mental model are in alignment with our district LCAP. Goal 1 of the LCAP states that BUSD will provide all students with safe, collaborative conditions for learning. When reviewing the LCAP, you'll notice that most of the actions in Goal 1 support our progress with providing safe conditions for learning and can be categorized into 2 areas of focus: safety measures and social climate. The graphic on this slide shows the connection between the plans that guide our actions at school sites, the district LCAP, school sites SPSA, and site safety plans. The district LCAP and school sites SPSA include funding for implementing actions to support school safety and metrics to analyze progress with providing a safe school environment. Details on how safety measures are implemented are included in the school safety plan. School safety plans are required to be reviewed, updated, and board approved annually by March 1st. The Comprehensive School Safety Plan includes strategies for the prevention and education about potential incidents that may occur. The plan is continually reviewed and updated annually. As part of the development and update process, the plan goes through several reviews prior to being given to the board for approval. District provides a checklist to principals that include all items needed in order to meet compliance. The site principal reviews the plan and solicits input from staff, students at the secondary sites, and the community. Safety team meetings, public safety meetings, and PBIS meetings are examples of groups that provide input to the safety plan. Marco Martinez from 24 Defender met with each site admin to walk through their safety plan, providing suggestions for improvement, and also conducted a site walkthrough to identify ways to increase safety at the school site. Common suggestions from these walkthroughs included installing a visitor management system, purchasing emergency supplies, and installing a PA system with multiple points of access. All three of these suggestions have been partially or completely implemented. The safety plans were also reviewed by law enforcement, fire, and district personnel. Copies of the plans are kept at the school site and in the Educational Services Department. The plan is updated throughout the year as needed. An area of the model included in the safety school plan that we are reviewing tonight includes information on school safety. As you review the data, think about what the data is telling us. What can be celebrated and where are there areas for growth? I'm going to show you a series of slides with data that will help identify our current progress with providing a safe environment. For each slide, you'll review the data individually for about 30 seconds and then write on your reflection sheet answers to the following questions. What does the data tell us? What can be celebrated? And what are areas of growth? And your reflection sheet is in the pocket, left pocket of your binder. Once we complete the last slide, you will work with your partner to share your reflections and identify one or two findings that your team would like to share with the whole group. The data being analyzed includes LCAP metrics and California Healthy Kids data. This slide shows our baseline data and desired outcome for Goal 1, maintaining clean and safe campuses and facilities district-wide. Okay, this is your first slide for data. Go ahead and look at it for about 30 seconds and write down any reflections you may have. Okay, moving on to the next slide. This is page 9. And moving on to next slide, page 10. And turning to the next chart on page 11. Okay, going to the next chart on page 12. I'm going to the next slide. It's page 13. Okay, now why don't you take a moment and talk to the person next to you about what you came up with on those 3 questions, and then we'll share out. go ahead and finish up your conversations. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start our share out. Select one person from your team to share out one or two findings from your discussion. President Critchfield, would you like to start us off? Your team. Is that okay? Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I was just saying that when asked about the safety, it seems like more often the parents and the staff feel that it's more safe when the students are maybe more indecisive or disagree.
Thank you.
Kind of along those same lines, we were talking about how the bullying and harassment question seems very split. And it seems the don't know or maybe a little less informed, that the parents seem to mark that a lot more. So maybe they're like in relation to like gang related things, seems the staff is much more concerned than or informed about it than the parents.
Thank you. Vice President Stewart?
I think a positive is that it seems like most of our students and our parents feel safe at our schools, which is good. We thought that areas for growth would maybe just be, sometimes it's perception and it's not the reality. So maybe the communication piece, being proactive so that you can deal with the bullying and the harassment before you get to the fights and the weapons, because sometimes that maybe could be solved ahead of time. And just building community and building connectedness with our kids and our families.
Thank you. Dr. Al-Hassan, did you want to share?
Yes, thank you. I agree with Board Member Vice President Stewart. I saw the data. I think communication, and also as we look more deeply into our student ambassador program, can verify also greatly the degree of communication, perception change.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Drani? Your team?
I'm sorry, real quick. Was everyone able to hear Dr. Al-Hassan? It was a little broken, Dr. Sue. If I don't know if is it an audio issue, because I didn't hear what she said. I want to make sure I heard.
Am I coming clear now?
Okay, it is a little bit quiet, Dr. Sue. I just want you to be aware, just in case.
Let me turn the volume up and let me know. So I was saying that I think in agreement with Board Member Stewart in regards to the analysis, but I also thought that the perception was also needed to be corrected and would be probably best viewed with our student ambassadors once created. Can you hear me?
Okay. Where her pieces have Dr. Sue, so so I think I think just I would just remember what Mr. Critchfield said. You're probably projecting your best, but we heard pieces of it that you agreed with Mrs. Stewart and some of the speakers. So so we'll keep moving from here.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
You want to go first, or?
So what we actually were looking at, as we're looking at these percentages, we found that it was higher than we had expected.
No, we had expected something a little bit lower, just because we tend to hear a lot of like what's highlighted, incidents. And so to us, the perspective is that maybe this is something that is continuing often and not just necessarily maybe once in a while. And that our students still feel that that our staff and our teachers are making their best efforts to make them feel safe and make them feel included as well. So I did notice that the teachers and the parents kind of had approximately the same percentages too. So that I found that a very interesting. I'm wondering if that's just a parent, like an older, like an adult perspective, compared to a student perspective, perhaps, and maybe even the way that they also interpreted the question, like one of the board members had said previously too.
Thank you very much, everyone. Oh,
And-
I'm sorry, Dr. Droughty.
Yeah, the only thing I will add to that is, I concur with Mrs. Garza. It was surprised to see how positive people are about the safety. Not that it's all positive, but it goes against what you often hear. So I think it is an area I think we need to really pay close attention to. The way I believe that we can even strengthen this is by establishing within our cycle of inquiry. If we look at the data and are clear that this is the actual questions that we want to see, how do we expand this to more people and engage the parents to help us with the surveys on the parent side, engage the staff to make sure that maybe even at a faculty meeting that this is filled out at the faculty meeting so we get 100% of the families, and therefore the students allow the students to help us also get the masses of students to fill this out. But if we keep it at the same time, at the same assessment window, but the questions are not going to change, but the actions that we take on a yearly basis are going to change. And if that happens, then we should be able to see whether we're making progress or not. So that's how I'm seeing this. But I would love to get more people to fill this out.
Agreed. Thank you, everyone.
I do want to add that the harassment and bullying, even though there is minimum percentage, 17% and 14%, is a little bit higher than some of the other ones that says bullying is like a severe problem, which is only like 6%. I have this thing about focusing resources on low incidence to where even the low percentage and the large problems and the severe problems, we still need to find out what's really going on. So as we move forward, this is what the data is telling us, and we cannot let the kids be ignored, because while some is oblivious to, they don't even know it's happening, some families are experiencing this, and it's a really horrible experience for the ones that go through it. Okay, so that's what I want to take from this.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I could piggyback on that, because that's something I was thinking too. This is a standard survey, right? So one of the things with bullying and harassment, bullying is such a subjective thing, and unless you're being bullied, that's the person, that's the student who's saying, yes, it's happening, trust me. But if you're not, you're going to be a part of that other percentage. So I think it's like Ms. Armstrong said, like how we word that question, I think is very important. It should be, have you or are you experiencing that in school? And that number, even if it's a small percentage, is huge.
Just to add to that, it is interesting. I was in a PTA meeting this past week, and I think one of the parents asked me, because I was talking about this study session, and we talked about safety, and that question actually came up. That can you define bullying? What does bullying mean to you? What does harassment mean to you? And that was I thought that was a pretty interesting question and a fascinating question, because you're right. Unless we know what it actually looks like and what it is, how do you know if how do we know? So that's a part of the learning that we have to do. How do we define bullying, at least in our district? How do you define harassment in our district, and really make sure that we communicate that?
I like that. In finding that out, it could be really clearly stated. I have 5 children that went through this district, and me personally, my children experienced it, but of course, I provided resources to the specific school when those things were happening. And also, sometimes we're going to have to make sure we highlight the importance of relationships, because also sometimes children or students will share with another student reporting it, bullying and harassment, and sometimes our children do not know how to handle that information. And I've experienced that too, to where, Mom, I have this information and I just don't know what to do. So as we move forward, make sure we try to cover all those different aspects and make sure we focus on relationship building. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I move on, would anybody else like to share? Okay, thank you. Part of our continual improvement process includes the following safety measures that have been implemented or are possible future safety measures to be implemented. We're on page 15. And moving to page 16. Here you can see the top priorities from stakeholders in the area of safety. Listed are the items we have already implemented and those for future considerations. The visitor management system was a high priority. Administrators met with several companies, and we ultimately contracted with Verkada. Training was provided for administrators, office staff, and other staff members who may be covering the front of the school. The company has supported district office staff as well as site staff with troubleshooting, setup and installation, and regular communication. We fully implemented the visitor management system on November 27th. I'm on page 18.
May I ask a question real quick? What is the difference between visitor management system and the buzz-in system?
The visitor management system is when visitors come into the office and they scan their ID, but the buzz-in system happens outside of the office with the locked door. They would buzz, and then somebody inside could see who it was and buzz them in through the door. You're welcome. Training is another area of high priority. Through our contract with 24 Defender, the company has provided active shooter training to 11 of 15 sites thus far, as well as for administration. In addition, administration participated in incident command and stop the bleed training, as well as an active shooter simulation, where simulated gunfire was used, and they had to either run, hide, or fight. Additional dates for active shooter training are being scheduled for staff who were unable to attend a site training. Substance use prevention and intervention is another area where BUSD has strengthened our support for our students. InterQuest detective canines began visiting the secondary sites at the beginning of the year, and the RISE program was created by counselors and administrators. Prior to students attending RISE, they will participate in other means of correction when there are incidences involving substances. Thus far, we have had 0 referrals to RISE. Preparing for an emergency plays a vital role in ensuring staff have the necessary equipment in case an incident occurs. This year, we purchased classroom lockdown kits, teacher emergency kit backpacks, Stop the Bleed kits, emergency posters, and active shooter posters district-wide. Marco Martinez from 24 Defender worked with district office staff to develop the common language on the posters, allowing us to speak the same language in the event of an emergency. And you can see the posters were hanging over on that wall there. And against this wall on the bottom, there's one of the backpacks and one of the lockdown kits. This is what they look like. The lockdown kits on the left and the emergency supplies backpacks on the right. And these were purchased for every room at the sites.
So if people are wondering why those equipment is necessary, if you go back to the previous, you'll notice that black bucket there is actually a you can use it for several things and also a toilet as well, right? So if you imagine when there is a lockdown, there's no it's unpredictable whether we get out of the lockdown within an hour, 2 hours, or 10 hours. It depends on what's going on out there. And so we work together with the authorities. So if we had to be locked into a classroom, can we survive for a full day, 2 days, and so on? So that's what these equipment is there. You're looking at toilet paper. You're probably wondering, why is there toilet paper? Why are there snacks? Why are there these things? That's what that means, is that you never know in a lockdown, because we won't be able to move until they release us. So that's what the equipment is for.
And the minute you go on lockdown, the children have to use the restroom.
I do have a question about the Stop the Bleed kits. How has that training been received? I mean, how are they? How is the staff? How have the staff responded to that? Because we have some people who are like, don't like that. Just asking.
Oh, I know. I was a part of the training we did with the management team in the beginning of the year. I think it was eye-opening for people. When you have to tourniquet somebody and you have to, and the examples they use are pretty vivid. So just to prepare us for any kind of danger. So I think the staff the management team handled it pretty well. Obviously, do we need to get that to everybody else at some point? Yes. But right now we've started off with the management team, and now we're going to continue to expand from there.
Okay. We're on page 24. Another area of the model that we're focusing on tonight is multi-tiered systems of support to improve school climate. Please reflect on these 3 questions as you review the data. If you turn your reflection sheet over, it'll have school climate. We'll follow the same data analysis protocol that we did when we analyzed school safety. And for each slide, you'll review the data individually for a minute or 2, and then write on your reflection sheet the answers to the following questions. What does the data tell us? What can be celebrated? What are areas of growth? Once we complete the last slide, you'll work with your partner to share your reflections and identify 1 or 2 findings that your team would like to share with the whole group. So this is our last area of data, and it encompasses discipline and assertive discipline. ARIES provides 2 screens for discipline entries. The discipline screen is for non-suspendable violations, and the assertive discipline screen is for suspendable violations. Here we see the student ethnicity distribution for BUSD. This chart shows the code for each race, the gender breakdown, and the percentage of each race. We're going to use this chart as a reference as we analyze the data slides. Let's begin by looking at assertive discipline by disposition. When a student violates Ed Code, the incident may be recorded in the assertive discipline screen. Within this screen, there are 3 choices for consequences. They are out-of-school suspension, in-school suspension, and other means of correction. You can see how many incidences we have had of each from the first day of school to January 22nd. January 22nd is when I pulled the data. Here we have our data.
Can
for
you, I'm so
sorry.
sorry. Can you elaborate on other means of correction?
So other means of correction means that instead of doing an in-school suspension or an out-of-school suspension, something else was used. It could have been restorative, it could have been anything to teach the students, aside from suspension or in-house suspension.
Could you give me like our most, out of that 27, like the most common other means that we use?
I don't know what the most common other means is because it would be a school site decision.
Maybe just a few examples.
It could be restorative circles, it could be detention, it could be other.
Working with the counselors, if there's something that we discover that is students experience some kind of traumatic event that lead to that, it may be working with the therapist on campus.
So referral to counselor
Yes.
or?
Yes.
Okay. Any others?
This is where school sites have to get creative about how do you detour students besides suspension if you want to do that. And I think so far right now, what I've seen, what I observe, and without looking at the data, this is anecdotal now, is when we ask the question, what other means are you doing? I think that this is where the wellness centers and all these different other areas where students are taken out of class and counseled, and they either join groups or they're assigned an activity to do. They may miss lunch. They may miss their lunch. There's other ways to try to correct them, but I would have to know exactly what each school is doing to do that.
Okay.
But to answer, there is no standard plan that we have as a district that said these are ways. It is an area I think we need to really study to help the sites to figure out, okay, if we're not going to suspend, what other ways can we use to deter students from something.
I have another question. Teacher and out-of-class suspensions, would that be in-school suspensions because they're just out of that particular class for the period, or would that be other means?
Those are recorded in the discipline screen, not assertive discipline, because it's a classroom suspension, correct or no? No? In school, but not sent home. So it would be in-school suspension.
Okay, so they would be in this category. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let me say this, I do want to say that I know it. Can you hit your buttons? I do want to share that I've seen the other means of correction being used at the elementary site and at the high school level. And what I've seen is support to help the children develop ways of regulating themselves. That's the counseling, that's the therapy, and it's open for the children to go in. And sometimes they do have set schedules to where they meet with the group, depending on what it is. They either meet with the group or they meet individually. So they actually have students sometimes to help support them. So, but like he says, it's different for each school.
Okay, we're on page 28, controlled substances. Here we have our data for students who have possessed, used, or have been under the influence of a controlled substance. The data shows the total number of incidents as well as breakdown by grade, gender, and race. And I've added the percentages down at the bottom.
I have a question. For number 12 and 13, what's the difference? Would you happen to know?
Do you know the difference between those? No. The code number and name, yeah. Controlled substance.
We'll have to come back to you on that.
Thank you.
Okay, turning to the chart on page 29. Our last set of data is organized by grade and discipline versus assertive discipline. The grade spans are TK to 3rd, 4th through 6th, 7th and 8th, and 9th and 12th. The first chart that you'll see is for discipline within this grade range, which is non-suspendable. And the next chart is the same grade range, but it's the assertive discipline, the suspendable violations. So take a couple of minutes to look those over, jot some notes down on your reflection sheets.
Can you go over the codes? It's still coded at the top.
If you want to just pull the page out, it's 26.
What is the Y indicator?
The Y indicator is Hispanic, Latino, yes or no. So Y is yes.
Was that for the same for the other sheet?
Yes, it's the same on all of them.
On page 26, it gives the ethnic codes. I know we're looking at this, but I'm going to kind of take up for the TK and Ks. They're probably exploring a lot.
If you haven't yet, take a look at the TK to third grade assertive discipline on page 30.
So just to be clear, I'm just asking, on the code 48, injury attempted to cause, does that mean that there was an intervention before any harm could be done?
Or it could be that they hit but not hard enough to cause injury.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
And let's move into the next grade span, which is 4th through 6th grade. The charts are set up the same. The first one is 4th through 6th grade discipline, the non-suspendable. The page behind it is 4th to 6th grade assertive discipline, suspendable. and then move into our 7th and 8th grade group. And our last grade span, 9th through 12th grade. Okay, take a moment to share with the person next to you some of your insights and answers to those questions. Go ahead and finish up your conversations. Okay, we're going to go ahead and share out, but before we do, we had a question about the 48,900 and 48,915. So controlled substance 48,900C is unlawfully possessed, used, sold, or otherwise furnished or been under the influence of any controlled substance, alcohol beverage, or an intoxicant of any kind. 48,915A1C is unlawful possession of any controlled substance except for the first offense for the possession of not more than 1 ounce of marijuana. All right, think about what you'd like to share out with the group. Vice President Stewart, did you want to start us off?
Sure. I think the positives to celebrate are that the females have a very low percentage of discipline, from TK to 6 at least. And then by 4th grade, we noticed that defiance and disrespect decreases, so that's positive. One thing that I was looking at the data is a lot of this is playground, outside of class discipline, tardiness. So it makes me wonder if having more security or more aides or more support staff to push kids to class or to monitor the playground, I think that might be something that we would ask ourselves. And just another one, we were talking about, how do you define disrespect? There's a lot of disrespect. How does individual teachers define their class rules? How does that all work? And then the last one is just, we're still seeing, and I understand, I have a daughter, cell phones are important, but we're still seeing cell phones being a problem, and maybe trying to collaborate on how we make that better. Obviously, they're filming, they're using them in class, they're communicating back and forth. So just maybe looking at that piece.
Thank you very much. Ms. Armstrong, did you want to go next?
Thank you so much. So what we noticed, we looked at the ethnicity distribution, and we noticed that across the board, for African Americans, we're only 12%, 12.4% of the population, but the percentage of our children that are being, suspended or disciplined is exceptionally higher. And we had a conversation about that because we kind of thought, why do you think that is? Is it that, is it something that the students are going through? Is it that the teachers don't know how to handle those students? Are the relationships, that bad? Or, so we were really talking about the whole child, like what is the child experiencing? We need to find out what's really going on, because one of them was almost 50% of our, of the 12%. That's telling. We need to find out and give our teachers the support that they need. I mean, it's going to take a minute to figure it out, and sometimes it could be as simple as what is going on differently in the home. Has something drastically changed? I shared with her that I had a student who had begun to act out, but just because of who I am, I didn't just think something was like, I didn't think he was being defiant. I made that phone call and I said, did anything change at home? Anything? And then when the parent told me what happened, I was like, oh my goodness, those types of things you need to share, because our children, they bring that grief to school, and the teachers they don't have a clue. And then sometimes they don't have enough time to say, oh, what's really going on. They just see that the kid is acting out. So we did notice that. And we also noticed that, y'all know I love my TKers, but, and you can take over anytime, because we had a good, we did notice that even though they may have started out with high numbers, totals of discipline, that by the time they got to the third grade, that they did do better, less occurrences, and that was across the board. Okay, and then we also noticed that we wonder why teachers say, some teachers say they would never teach fifth grade. I mean, we saw the norm, we saw the numbers. So, but anyway, we did see from fourth to sixth grade that occurrences were less. So I like the way and that was again, it was less as far as the occurrences. So they got better between 4 to 6, and then we noticed that 7th and 8th, they just really worked the numbers up on both ends. So 7th and 8th, the numbers increased in the 8th grade, but then we noticed, and we chuckled about this too, that they carried it on to the 9th and 10th grade, but then reality must have set in because 11th and 12th grade, those numbers of incidences went down. We had a lot of fun talking. But on a serious note, we did notice that those high numbers within the African American population, we really need to figure out what's really going on and provide the teachers some support in which to deal with student discipline.
I think it's just discussing, like, maybe there have to be different ways of discipline, because if there's just such high numbers in this one semester, there's probably a form of discipline that would be maybe more long-lasting or more effective.
Thank you very much. Ms. Garza, Dr. Trotty?
We noticed similar trends, and but let me go back to something Mrs. Garza brought up about just the definition of some of these infractions. For example, disrespect. I think Mrs. Stewart brought this up too. Disrespectful behavior. What that is to me versus what is to with Mrs. Stewart and also with the Armstrong may be different. I just remember growing up from Uganda. I never questioned my parents, hey, because I told you so. That was a rule, Right? But my kids ask me questions all the time right now. Hey, why we got to do this and all that? And I'm sure if my parents are sitting down at the dinner table, they'll be like, okay, your kids are disrespectful. But I don't see it that way. So I just wonder what we bring to the table in these conversations and how we deal with classrooms and all that. So I think that's a worthwhile discussion. It goes back to the whole conversation about what is bullying and what is harassment, what is disrespect, really having that clarity, and that is something that very controllable within our folks in their schools and the district to engage in those conversations to really define what those things are. So that's a point I thought Mrs. Meyer brought is pretty big. The other piece about the Armstrong brought about the disproportionality, and I want people to understand what that is, because it is a part of what I'm going to propose that we address moving forward in the issues of equity. Disproportionality basically says if there is a specific percentage of certain groups, let's just say that our girls, I use this example all the time. If we have girls, our females are in Bellflower Higher, they're 50% of the population, and if we go into a calculus class and we only find that there are, say, 10% of the population, that is disproportionate. So we have to circle that and understand what the root cause is. You could ask that same question about all of this, right? So when we see disproportionality, we should be able to look at systematically what is going on that's resulting in that. Whether it's external forces or internal, either way, it's impacting the education. So we have to look into how we can address that. That's the only PM. And obviously, when you see here who's disproportionate, who's not, we have the Pacific Islanders. We don't have that many numbers, but heavily disproportionate in certain areas. The African Americans that Mrs. Stewart brought up already. And those are things that we have to circle. The boys, heavily disproportionate. And so is there something that we need to do with our boys about discipline or rules and things like that that's causing that? And those are questions we should always ask. I don't know if I missed it. Did I miss something? Or?
No, I just want to point out that as we look through the data across, grade levels, you start to see some of these things kind of feed into another from like even the lower grades. Instances of injury attempted or injury caused, it seems like it's almost feeding into the next grade level for injury attempted to cause. So I'm wondering if maybe we can invest a little bit more of, I don't know, some different, like our student board members saying, different types of discipline or consequences, or maybe even just being more proactive in putting out, placing more staff, rec aid staff out there during the playground times and making sure that we're all in cohesion with what does that role look like on the campus, because I know that at the beginning of the first recess, it's teachers. Last recess, it's teachers as well. But the lunch recesses are not monitored by teachers. It's monitored by our rec staff. So are those two expectations cohesive, or is there a difference? So, and then I'm thinking like a tardy sweep, seriously? Like we're having, how many, I'm sorry, I'm just like, maybe like, board member starts saying, maybe we need to pay a little bit more attention at tardy sweeps and making sure, and I know that this is happening, but on the campuses, but what else can we do to remind parents that their child has been tardy so many times? Because I know I get them when my child is tardy, and if they're tardy that day I get a communication, and I'm talking to my son like, you were tardy on third period, where were you? So, just kind of making sure that that's maybe incentives, positive incentives, right? To make sure that they get into that classroom on time. But yeah, that would be it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a few of my observations. Number one, 10th grade seems like it's looks like a rough year compared to most. And that's something we talked about too. Like one thing that would be great would be some type of cohort data in the future, because every year, when the students change, a lot of the behaviors are going to change, and I think if we could compile that data, it'd probably be even more telling for us. We did talk a little bit about the boys and girls and how in the earlier years it does seem, especially the TK through 3, the boys, what is it, was it? I mean, basically all around, I think it kind of goes back to what we were saying about harassment and bullying. It's like, what expectations how do we understand that? So, a fight or roughhousing at an age for boys when it's younger might look a little different. And as they progress, you kind of see those numbers leveling out, and then it's much more even as they get older, because when you're when you're a little bit older, a fight's obviously a fight. And when you're young and you're a boy, and I grew up with 6 brothers, I'm sure people thought we were fighting all the time. Not to say that behavior is good for school, and there's, you can't allow it, but I think sometimes that can like skew what the data is showing us as far as like if they are really trying to hurt each other or if they're playing in a way that's not acceptable. Then also, as for the biggest disparity is going to be our Pacific Islander students. There's a couple, we have 81 Pacific Islander students in our district, and in the 7 through 8 discipline, there is 41. So that's 50%. That is the largest disparity that we have. And even in the 4 through 6, it's 21. So that's 25%. And that's 25% and 50% of all of those students, not just the percentage of that particular data set. So I think that's huge, and we really got to look at that and see what's going on. And also, the previous rendition of this presentation had our students with disabilities, didn't it?
So we had some rough numbers with those, and it ended up that it didn't include all of the students. So we're working on getting that query to get really accurate numbers for those.
But it was in the previous one, right?
It was. Uh-huh.
Was there anything else? Okay.
Thank you. Dr. Alhassan?
Thank you. I saw some of the same trends as my fellow board members. And one thing I want to assert is that the transition from 9th to 10th grade, where you see the greatest disruption of behavior, both in regards to discipline and in classroom, the transition area there could be addressed also with the current programs that we have with the Wellness Center. And again, we can look at how our student ambassadors, as they become implemented, can support these students in transition.
I'm sorry, Dr. Sue, are you as close to the computer as you can be?
Yes, it's right in front of me.
Okay. I'm just afraid some of the things you're saying, I know if I can't hear it, other people can't hear it, and I just don't think I think we need to somehow fix that issue, get creative, because I don't want you to be saying something and us just move on without actually hearing what you're saying. So I don't know what we can do to fix that.
Let me try yelling. I don't know if that's okay.
Yeah, that's actually better. This is actually better.
Keep it going.
Okay. But I wanted to mention also some of the discipline areas in TK through 3, where a lot of the playground rules, the breaking the classroom rules, were some of the highest areas, as well as disrespect. These areas can also be addressed through our wellness programs that we're starting through in the elementary and secondary areas.
Okay, I think we heard pieces of what you incorporated. I think you brought up the concept of the student ambassador as a peer mentor. So I think that is a great idea. You've mentioned that several times before, and I think I can definitely see. I think we can definitely see how that can be incorporated as a part of interventions and all that. So
I was also mentioning early on through TK through 3, that what we currently have at sites in regards to the wellness centers, that some of these issues of behavior can be addressed in a group level, small groups.
Yeah, you are. So I think what she's saying is some of these issues could be helped with, and we can put students in groups in the wellness centers to help facilitate group sessions and things like that. Is that correct, Dr. Sue?
Right, as I'm saying, as we start early in addressing these issues, that we may see the transition of a lot of these behaviors lessen as they go through the 9th, 10th grade levels.
Okay.
Starting early, is what I'm saying.
Thank you very much. Part of our continual improvement process includes the following climate measures that have been implemented or are possible future climate measures to be implemented. We're on page 38. Within the system, we have focused on programs, structures, training, and support staff in order to provide our students with the support that they need. Programs that we use to support students include restorative practice that helps strengthen relationships, zones of regulation, a curriculum that teaches students how to regulate their emotions, and Second Step and School Connect, which are both social emotional learning curriculum used by the teachers. In addition, we use Panorama to survey our students and gather their input in order to build a positive school climate. PBIS is not a program, but it is a structure where all students receive Tier 1 support, some students receive Tier 2 support in addition to the Tier 1, and a few students receive Tier 3 support in addition to Tiers 1 and 2. All of these programs and structures work together to provide a safe and secure environment where students can excel.
And then these are all trainings that we have in our system. But if you ask me how efficient or committed we are fully to implement these things, that's where the work comes into play. For example, I'll just give the example of restorative practices. Some people think that's some kind of way in which you give an alternative discipline instead of providing discipline. It's actually not. It is a way in which whatever violation occurs, you still have to administer discipline, but in that process, you have to engage in what we call a restorative conversation, in which you identify what the harm is and how to fix it in the future. And it's a great process to really address some of these things, and for the system for everybody in the system to learn why students are struggling. You know, for example, every student that goes through a suspension, if you take them to a restorative practice conversation, we get at the root cause of why they did what they did from that conversation. So, but we have to implement that with diligence, with accuracy and effectiveness to be able to gather for it to mean something. So that goes for all of these that's listed on this. So I just don't want people to think that because we listed it here that we're 100% doing it. It is in our system, but implementation, deep implementation is the work that we have to do.
May I add one more thing to that? That it's also important to see that what's the percentage of success of these programs? Because for a fact, I know that I've read some information about PBIS because I've had to implement it myself, and it's only 75% effective it's effective with 75% of your class. So what are we doing for that other 25% of kids who have maybe behaviors or issues that this specific, structure or program is not able to help?
So the Tier 1 is effective for 80% of the students, and then the Tier 2 would be about 15% of the students, and then the Tier 3 would be about 5% of the students.
We're actually there's a diagram, we're actually gonna go over that piece, so maybe let's wait till that time.
I just have a question about because Dr. Jati said that it's not implemented 100%. So I was just wondering what's stopping it from being implemented thoroughly?
I would say training and the will to come together and do together as teams. It's just one of those things where the teachers, the administration, the schools, they all have to come together and commit to doing certain practices. For example, I would say defining what disrespect is. That's an example, right? Having that conversation to define that, and then finding ways to address that together in a unified way. Not all 108 staff members in their own different ways, but really committed to that. And so it's a matter of establishing time and the will to be able to do it, and then the training necessary to do it. And then we evaluate along the way to see how effective we are.
I know you say coming together to decide on it, but would it take a new district rule to implement these maybe?
No, for example, and we'll get to some of those pieces in a second here. You probably, next year, you'll see that there'll be times when students are at home and staff is at work, and they're getting their full pay to be at work. It's called what we call buyback days. For example, we have those 6 days. That's an opportunity for staff to come together and actually talk about these things and establish rules and trainings and learn and all that. So for example, if we don't show up to those days, then that says a lot about our will to try to improve on certain things, right? So the point is, we need to provide an opportunity for training and then we have to come to the training and address it. So it's something that just like in instruction, everybody there's certain instruction classes that are going to be more proficient than others. How do you get better? Training, and so that's what we have to do.
And Ben, we are planning on going to a short recess before open session at 6. Is 10 more minutes going to be enough time? Yeah. Okay.
I do have a question. I see on the training, the nonviolent crisis intervention, is that happening most in our special education department? Or our, what is it called, our maybe instructional assistants?
So the nonviolent crisis intervention is open to anybody to attend the training. I don't know what the percentage of is special ed, teachers or aides, but we had 58 participants.
Okay. I was just saying because I think it's important that with our special education population, when those behaviors are somewhat more evident, that we encourage that training because it really provides like specifics on what to do if this should happen. And then I also didn't, and then not only that, to keep that you have to renew it, every 2 years or something like that? And then I didn't see CPR. Is that like a whole different thing?
That is not one of the trainings that we've had yet.
Okay, because that's another one, just in case. So, no, I was just asking.
Why don't we skip and go straight to the pyramid of intervention? Because I think let's finalize with that because that'll launch us to what next steps are. So.
Yeah. So this is the visual that was created as far as MTSS for behavioral. And you can see at the bottom, all sites in the black writing, that's what all sites would do. And then underneath that, those are all of the students who would be able to support within, those are all of the staff that would be able to support within Tier 1. So the way that this works is if you click on one of those, the teacher, the administrator, it'll take you to a page that lists what that person's role is within Tier 1. Same with Tier 2 and same with Tier 3. On the left-hand side of the triangle, those are links, Tier 1, 2, and 3. That'll take you to PBIS World, and that'll give you specific strategies for Tier 1.
Can you click on that just real quickly?
Can you click
On
the
the
MTSS
Tier
on the
1,
far left?
just an example, and we,
Click in the far left.
there you go.
No, the far left.
We just go just an example, and then that'll orient everybody to what that is.
No. See in the upper left-hand corner? There you go. Okay, so that should be interactive. Now go ahead and click on Tier 1.
To your left.
Tier 1 all.
Tier 1 all.
Left bottom. There you go. So that's the list of Tier 1 interventions. And if you scroll, can you scroll down to show how many there are? There's a lot of them there. Okay, and if you scroll back up, on the pyramid it has the Tier 2 and Tier 3, but if you look at the top of this page, where the green is highlighted for Tier 1, that's Tier, and right next to that is Tier 2 and Tier 3. Now, if you click on that PBIS World right in the middle, that gives you ideas for specific behaviors. So on this landing page, you could click on, say, aggressive bullying in the upper left-hand corner. And it'll take you to this page that says, these are some of the things that a student may do. And then if you scroll down, you can see, does this describe the student, yes or no? If you click no, it'll take you back to that landing page of behaviors. But if you click yes, it takes you to the interventions for Tier 1.
Anyway, that's good. I wanted to showcase that just to give an example of how we can use this tool. And to answer your question, Mrs. Lynch, as you can see, all those different infractions that people may do, being arguing with a student or aggressive behavior, having the staff come together and actually look at that and having a conversation around what it is that specifically that we're going to do in Tier 1 together as a whole school. In there, the first bullet says develop school-wide behavior expectations. That is an act that should occur. and then it says directly teach behavior expectations to students, meaning there has to be a plan to teach those behaviors and then revisit it. But that's a whole staff coming together, coming up with those plans together, defining what the issue, how do we address aggressive behavior? How do we address bullying? How do we address coming together on those pieces is what I mean by that type of professional learning we need.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for putting this together. It's a very important conversation. I know we have a lot of work to do, but thank you for having the conversation. At this time, the board will recess for a short break at 5:40, and we will reconvene at 6 p.m.
Mr. President, we're adjourning the study session
Adjourning it?
and then going into recess.
Okay. Hold on, let me flip a page here. So it's just an adjournment? At this time, we will adjourn our study session at 5:40 until we end. And we will reconvene again at our regularly scheduled open session meeting at 6 p.m. Already? Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Board of Education. The meeting is called to order at 6 p.m. in open session. Let's see. We do not have any replacement pages for tonight and public comments. Tonight we do have public comments addressing agenda and non-agenda items. While meetings of the governing board are not public meetings, they are open to the public. Individual speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item, and the board will limit the total time for public input on each item to 21 minutes as per board bylaw 9322.2. May Elaine Wilson approach the podium. What?
Good evening, members of the school board and Dr. Drotti. My name is Elaine Wilson, and thank you for allowing me to speak. As a concerned member of our community and a grandparent, I'm here to advocate for our students and to bring attention to the current management of the athletic programs at Mayfair High School. Our high school athletic programs play a crucial role in the overall well-being and development of our students. They not only foster physical health, but also instill valuable life skills such as teamwork, discipline, and resilience. However, recent observations and feedback from students and parents indicate that there may be a few areas of concern that merit the attention of the school board. In one case, the athletic director at Mayfair. It is the athletics director's responsibility to submit applications for teams to participate in CIF championships. Due to an unfortunate oversight by this individual, the girls' wrestling team was not able to participate, even though they demonstrated equal dedication and effort as their male counterparts, earning them the title of league champions. To address this, I'm asking that a thorough investigation be carried out to understand why the application was not submitted correctly. Was it due to negligence, lack of understanding, or inadequate systems and processes? How was it that the boys' wrestling team application was submitted correctly? While the principal has personally taken the responsibility for the administrative error, there remains a need to address the responsibility and accountability of the athletic director. Transparent communication about the error and its consequences is essential for building trust. The athletic director should demonstrate a commitment to accountability, transparency, and improvement moving forward. There's also been concern, especially for the wrestling team, the girls, about the safety of our facilities. The safety of our student athletes should always be a top priority. This includes not only proper equipment and training, but also the quality, cleanliness, and maintenance of our athletic facilities. It is essential to assess whether our current facilities meet safety standards, are equitable, and adequately support the needs of our teams. I also want to say that the role of the coaches extend beyond the field or the court. They serve as mentors and role models for our students. We need to acknowledge their commitment by providing them with the necessary resources and facilities to effectively fulfill their responsibilities. I believe that by proactively addressing any concerns and investing in the enhancement of our athletic programs, we can better fulfill our commitment to the holistic development and well-being of all our students. Thank you for your attention, and the parents and I look forward to hearing about steps the school board will take to address these issues.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.
Can I have Karina Baez to the podium?
I didn't come prepared, but I'll try my best. So, good afternoon to all the members, but I wanted to say that Somerset High School is gonna be doing a school fundraiser. So we're gonna be selling ASB made roses for $5 to, like, you know, for our field trips or any school supplies that we need at school, or any for PE or anything that we need. So we're gonna be selling these for Valentine's Day. They have a scent to it, so they don't smell just like glue. So if you guys are interested, I'll be outside, or whenever you guys have time, I'll be selling them if you guys are interested. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a weak clap. Let's try it one more time. And you can put me down for one of the roses. I'll get it after. Red. All right. Do we have any amendments to this evening's agenda? Nope. Okay. Now we will go into the Pledge of Allegiance. Frankie Woodruff Principal, Dr. Nguyen, will be leading the flag salute.
Can everybody please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, President Brad Kreifeld, members of the board, Dr. Drati.
I'm sorry, I'm going to, I just want to make sure Dr. Elhessen can hear us.
Oh,
Can we? Dr. Elhessen, can you hear everything? Okay. All right, please continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening, President Brad Kreifeld, members of the board, Dr. Drati, members of the cabinet, and guests. My name is Dr. Trang Nguyen, and I am the proud principal of Woodruff Elementary. One of my mentors, Tammy Zilla, often reminds me of the notion of outrageous love. We need to commit to the learning and achievement of all of our students and work towards equity for those who need us the most. To love outrageously may make us feel uncomfortable, but we push ourselves as leaders and educators for our students. This is my self-challenge. I am grateful to be here tonight to highlight our new PBIS Rewards program that was launched right after winter break. It is an app that allows all of our staff and members of our PTA to award points to our students for demonstrating the expected behaviors by simply scanning students' badges with their cell phones. Students are then able to log onto their Chromebooks to see an overview of what was earned and the reason why. They place items into their shopping cart for purchase with earned points, and our PTA delivers the purchased items twice a month. The key to this program is having rewards that incentivize our students within our age ranges. Some of the prizes won have been through raffles, such as lunch with our counselors and a dance party. The ultimate raffle prize, which everybody's waiting for, will be time spent in a mobile gaming unit, which will be supplied by our PTA. Since the kickoff, we have seen a huge reduction with trash on campus. I thank you all for your support and look forward to the impacts that this program will continue to make at Woodruff Elementary.
Thank you. And I think you're also going to give a presentation on the bulletin board?
Yeah. So that is the board. So our counselors and members of our PTA came in to actually put this up, and it does talk about our key characteristics that we look for in our students and that we actually teach throughout the school year, which is honesty, ownership, willingness, and leadership through Howling. And it does outline this online PBIS rewards program, and we have had some deliveries, and the PTA has come on campus to actually deliver, and we did have a dance party just yesterday. So the students had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It is now time for our student board reporters. Bellflower High School, take it away, Trista.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. President Critchfield, board members, Dr. Durati, and honored guest. My name is Trista Peterson. I am a senior at Bellflower High School, and I thank you for allowing me to speak here today. First up, we have Navigation Night and Bug Blast Off that took place in the end of January. We had many people show up and check out what we have to offer at Bellflower during Navigation Night, including some of our school board members. It was great to see you guys, and thank you for your support. We appreciate it. In the month of February, we celebrate Black History Month. Each morning, we have a member of our school's YBS come and read a quote for our morning announcements and for Black History Month. This week, we will also be holding a lunchtime event titled Embrace the Legacy, Celebrate the Future, Black History Inspires Us All. Another celebration we have in the month of February is our annual 14 Days of Valentine's and our Counselor Appreciation Month. For 14 Days of Valentine's, we honor different students from different grade levels, our staff, clubs, and organizations for all of their hard work. We have the celebration from February 1st through the 14th, and here are some pictures of the celebration. You can check out all of our Valentine and appreciation posts on the @WeAreBellflower Instagram, where we post all of our Valentines for the day and a group of counselors that we are honoring each day. And last, for our current events, we have our Apex and CSF field trip happening tomorrow, and they will both tour the San Diego State University and UC San Diego campus. Last but not least, we have our upcoming events, our Renaissance Rally and our Spirit Week. The Renaissance Rally helps us recognize many different achievements from the past semester. And we have our No Hate Tour. The No Hate Tour High School is coming to our campus Thursday, February 15th. The program uses excitement of BMXS Sports Pro to deliver a critical message about bullying prevention. The guest speakers will talk about their experiences with bullying online and offline and how to respond or be an ally in a relatable manner that will help resonate with our student body. And that concludes the Bellflower Board Report for Bellflower High School and ways to stay updated. Thank you and good night.
Great job, Trista. Representing Mayfair High School is Lennox Scott.
Good evening, President Critchfield, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Draughty, district colleagues, and all in attendance. I wanted to extend my thanks for you guys allowing me to come here today and keep you guys updated on this past month. Now, to start off, we have our February 2024 calendar, and as you can see, we have a lot of events coming up, ranging from jazz festivals to assemblies, and of course, we have Valentine's Day, but mostly I'm looking forward to that 4-day weekend coming up next week. And lastly, we are now officially a certified kindness school, so we are just really glad to receive recognition on something that we feel so passionate about. Now on this slide, it highlights our wrapping up of our school's musical, Little Shop of Horrors. And as an addition, we had Faculty Follies Night, where our super talented Mayfair staff actually got to put on the same show as our students. And a big shout out to Mr. Brian Saunders, who oversaw this play, and all the students who had a part in creating this beautiful piece of art. Continuing on, we have a highlight of our winter sports. Now, as our winter sports season wraps up, we would love to recognize our girls basketball team and girls and boys wrestling for becoming league champions. Following that, we also have girls and boys basketball CIF playoffs and finals for boys wrestling. So we are just very proud of our sports teams and all the work they have accomplished this past season. Next, we have some more student recognition, this time in the academic sense, where nearly 1,200 students gained honor roll this time. This shows that we are completing LCAP goal number 2, really giving that viable curriculum. And if you look at the picture, you can even see some students holding up 2 certificates. Moving on, we have our Abilities Awareness Assembly happening the 23rd. This assembly is all about spreading awareness and also giving insight for the students. At this assembly, we have all students, including our special education, participating in different sports activities. And in the middle picture, you can actually see that Miss Garcia and Miss Holgan actually visited us at this assembly. Now on this slide, we have a quick look of what our senior seminar looked like. This is where seniors got together just to have some fun and participate in a range of activities where they wore their senior color, which this year is yellow. Finally, as you may know, with February brings Valentine's Day. And for Valentine's Day, a tradition here at Mayfair is Singing Valentines, a day where our super talented students go around school and sing some of their favorite songs to the students here. And with that being said, we brought a special surprise so you guys can really just experience that firsthand.
Dum 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 dum. You've got a friend in me. Do 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 do. You've got a friend in me. Do 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 do. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, you'll just remember what your old pals do. You've got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me.
That's awesome.
Wow, that was great. And with live performances, Miss Holcomb and her students also provide Singing Valentine phone calls. So if you guys ever wanted to, send some love over the phone, you guys know who to contact. Now, finally, looking back, we wrapped up our winter sports. We also have sports in CIF. We also wrapped up our Little Shop of Horrors musical. We had Kindness Month, and we also had a special visit from Congressman Garcia, where he gave some speeches to our government classes in our newly built amphitheater STEAM. Now, looking ahead, we have our Abilities Awareness Assembly happening the 23rd again. We also have our Chick Peterson game, more honor roll awards, and as you know, February also brings Black History Month, so we have YBS giving daily facts on our morning announcements, Spirit Days, and they will be having an HBCU Expo on the 10th. Lastly, we also have our fair that we host at Mayfair March 6th, so hopefully, maybe we can see you guys there. Now, that wraps up our presentation, and thank you for allowing me to come here to give you guys an update. Hope you have a good evening.
Thank you, Lennox. Well done. And representing Somerset High School, Sierra Ridgeway. All you.
Thank you, and good evening, President Critchfield, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Drotti, members of the cabinet, and to all the guests in the audience. My name is Sierra Ridgeway, and I'm a junior at Somerset. This week, February 5th through February 9th, is National School Counseling Week, and I want to take this time to wish all counselors happy Counselors Week. At Somerset, we have 2 of the finest counselors in the district, and we appreciate them. Miss Belinda Davila has been a counselor for 24 years, with 14 of those years spent serving the academic needs of Somerset students. And Miss Shannon Woods, who started in the district 3 years ago, was instrumental in starting our wellness center and has taken on the responsibility of addressing all of our students' Sorry. And all of our students' social emotional learning needs. Ms. Woods also spends her time meeting the needs of students at Los Flores Independent Study School. Again, thank you, counselors. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Mr. Stephen Johnson, Somerset's and Bay Center new behavioral assistant. Mr. Johnson started last week and he has already made an impact on both campuses. Early on, Mr. Johnson has been spending time in classrooms, working with teachers, and observing the behavioral patterns of students. Mr. Johnson has begun to establish positive relationships with students, and his presence in the classroom and on campus will help to ensure that all students are provided with safe, collaborative conditions for learning. Last Saturday, 2 Somerset students, Mel Fuamatu and Joseph Aro, competed in the Skills USA contest held at Somerset. Somerset's teachers Brian Amata and Julio Guzman prepared the students to compete, and both did outstanding as the results are still pending. Mel Fuamatu showed his skill set by constructing a wood cabinet in Somerset's wood shop. And Joseph, who is a CalAP student, demonstrated his knowledge and understanding in the area of telecommunications cabling. Congratulations to both students, and we are proud of you. Are you ready for some football? Well, Somerset students and staff are ready for the big game with Super Friday, which is tomorrow. This is now the 3rd year Somerset will be having Super Friday. Students and staff will get into the spirit by sporting their favorite team jersey. There will also be an on-campus tailgate with food, games, and other activities for students to engage, in which it works toward building positive school culture. On behalf of the staff at Somerset, whatever your Super Bowl plans are this Sunday, just have fun and please be safe. This concludes my report for this evening. Thank you for listening.
Sierra, Lennox, Trista, every time you nail it, every time. Thank you. You always come prepared, and we really enjoy hearing what's going on at your sites. So thank you so much. And you know the spiel that I have to give, right? What is it, Lennox? That's right. But you can stay if you want, but if you do have your academic obligations, feel free. Thank you, guys. And now it is time for PTA communications. Thank you for the song, too. That was really awesome.
And for everybody else, I don't know who didn't get one. There's flyers out there. If you want to call someone or leave them a Valentine's message, they brought flyers. So, good evening, President Critchfield, board members, Superintendent Drotti, and guests. Our PTAs have been hard at work continuing to provide fun activities, events, and assemblies for our students, as well as some great family events. We all know the value and importance of parent engagement, but it's not always easy for families to be as involved due to everyone's busy schedules. I know our PTAs, as well as our principals at our school sites, are working hard to welcome parents and families and to educate and share all the things they're doing to improve students' academic success, health, and well-being. We appreciate the transparency and the communication that has been and continues to be improved upon. This is a good district on the cusp of greatness, and we just need to share out and promote all that BUSD has to offer. It may take some time, but we look forward to continuing the collaboration and finding ways to increase parent engagement, strengthen our community, and help our students thrive. With Valentine's Day coming up, I also wanted to share my appreciation for our many PTA volunteers. We appreciate all their hard work and dedication to our students. And the same, of course, goes for you, school board, Dr. Drotti, cabinet, administrators, teachers, and staff. Thank you all for your dedication and keeping the students at the center of your decision making. If you have time in your busy schedules, we'd love to have you at our next council association meeting on March 5th at 6 p.m. to help us recognize and celebrate our Reflections Art Program winners. And Lastly, I'd like to leave you all with a quote on teamwork. The way a team plays as a whole determines its success. You may have the greatest bunch of individual stars in the world, but if they don't play together, the club won't be worth a dime. I'd like to encourage everyone to choose forgiveness rather than division, teamwork over personal ambition. As always, thank you for this opportunity, and please reach out to me if you have any questions or would like to know more about what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Before we, I want to make sure that, how are we doing with Dr. Sue? Is she on? She can't hear? All right, how do we creatively work through this? Can we just call in and put a phone on the, You can't just do a speakerphone and she can... Okay, but just like a cellular device.
No, because there's also a delay with the video as well. So they tried calling, but it did not work as well.
I'm gonna refer to Andrew. What's the game plan?
So if she cannot be reached via Zoom or telephonically, she will be considered absent for the vote.
Okay. We're gonna keep trying, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. All right. With that, Superintendent report, Dr. Drotti.
Thank you. I want to take this time and thank Esther Lindstrom Principal, Dr. Olga Rios, for her 25 years of dedicated service to Bellflower Unified School District, as she has recently accepted a promotion in a neighboring school district. Dr. Rios has dedicated herself to Bellflower Unified, serving as in various capacities, from teacher at Craig Williams and Bellflower High to assistant principal roles at Thomas Jefferson and Bellflower High School, and finally as principal at Esther Lindstrom Elementary School for the past 6 years. While her departure may come as a surprise, I ask that we put any initial reactions aside and instead of join together in congratulating her and her family on this exciting new opportunity. As we embark on this period of transition, I am pleased to announce that Dr. Babak Amini Tarani will be stepping in as an interim principal effective February 20th. Dr. Amini Tarani brings a wealth of experience to his role, having served as an assistant principal at Bellflower High School with a focus on activities, assessments, and special education. The process of selecting the next permanent principal at Esther Elementary will be initiated promptly to ensure continuity and excellence in leadership. I want to extend, the other topic I want to talk about is the wrestling, the girls wrestling team at Mayfair High School. I want to extend my deepest apologies to the girls wrestling team at Mayfair High School. They competed very well and successfully with the individual competitions in the CIF, and we will recognize them soon in the future board meeting. However, they were unable to compete in the team competition that they qualified for because of a clerical error made in our application to compete. After several attempts to get the situation corrected through CIF, we were unsuccessful in doing so. We will make sure that this kind of mistake doesn't happen again in the future. To the female wrestlers in Mayfair, please know that your accomplishments matters and that you matter. And we will be sure to make sure that this will never happen again. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Drotti. So next, we're going to get into our first discussion item. But I do want to be clear, you've already reached out to Dr. Sue?
So we're attempting to reach her via cell phone, and we'll just put it up on the dais on speaker to allow her audio participation.
Okay.
Assuming we can reach her on her cell phone.
Okay. Does the board feel okay with a 5-minute recess while they set that up? Yeah. Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess so we can give them time and, yep. The board will now reconvene at 6:36. Just want to confirm, Dr. Sue, we have you?
Yes, I'm here.
Great, great. Okay, we will go ahead and move forward with our agenda. Next item is a discussion item to discuss the governance handbook. Do we have any questions from the board? Oh, I forgot about the button system. Ms. Stewart.
I actually just wanted to address the board. I have quite a few edits in this. I'm wondering if it's proper to go through all of these on the dais, or if we might not want to create a committee to finish this. I don't think we need CSBA to come back out, but I have a lot of edits, and I feel like it's going to be very time consuming up here. So I'm wondering how you guys feel about that.
Ms. Armstrong?
I agree with Board Member Stewart. I had a lot of edits also.
Oh, Ms. Garza?
I agree. Would love to see it come back later.
Dr. Al-Hassan, any questions or comments on the agenda item?
Yeah, I agree with my board members. I think we should not take the time because there's lots of edits to go through. Maybe we can do it individually and put it on our Friday memo for corrections.
Great. I would actually move to take volunteers for an ad hoc committee. Who would like to be on that committee?
I'll do it. Oh, did you hear me? Am I on?
Yeah.
Am I, okay. I wouldn't mind being one of the members.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
How many members do we need?
2. And I would actually, one of the things we did talk about in our governance handbook was to involve our student board members. So on that committee, I would like 2 of my colleagues here and also all 3 of our student board members to be involved in that conversation, if that's okay. So who would like to be on that committee? I got Miss Armstrong.
I'll be your second.
Great.
I have a question. So if we have individual edits, because that's an ad hoc committee, does that mean that we cannot give the input until they come back to us? Or are we allowed to give them our edits or input prior?
So it would be recommended that any edits, suggestions, amendments would be given to the ad hoc committee prior, so they can look those over and incorporate whatever changes into the recommendation they make to the board.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Great. So Miss Stewart and Miss Armstrong, Miss Garza and Miss Armstrong, along with our student board members, will meet and report back at the next board meeting. Any edits and changes to board meetings?
You might want to give them a little bit of time,
All right.
because it might be difficult getting with the student board members to actually sit down and go through it.
At the earliest time that's reasonable and would be great with our student board members, and then we'll bring it back for first reading. Great. All right, moving on. Going on to major action, selection and approval of agency for district's bond survey. Dr. Drade, do we have information on this?
Yes, so I'd like to invite Mrs. Hogan to share information on this item.
Thank you, Dr. Drade. So tonight before the board is an action item for the board to make a selection and approval for an agency to conduct a survey to help assist the board engaging the support for the local community voters or from the local community voters in support of a general obligation bond measure should they want to take this action. This was an agenda item, if you recall, back in October, and the board directed the staff to obtain informal proposals from different agencies that provide the same service. So the full proposals have been shared with you as part of your Friday memo, and in this action item provides you a contract matrix of the agencies, which you have a copy of in front of you as well, as a condensed summary of the services and the cost. All of the agencies, with the exception of one, which is Dragonfly, provide the survey services. Dragonfly also provides a proposal, which is includes for planning, action, and engagement. So note that the partner with Dragonfly is FM3 for the survey, which is the research part of Dragonfly. However, FM3 themselves submitted a proposal as well. Tonight, we're seeking direction, selection, and approval should the board want to move forward with the bond survey to gauge the support of the local community. If the board does not, then they would make if the board does, I should say, they would make a selection of the agency and motion for the recommended action with the name of the agency that is being selected. So at this time, I'll be turning it over to Board President, Mr. Critchfield, for the discussion and action and decision that the board decides.
Great. Ms. Garza?
President Critchfield, I'm going to seek counsel. If you can let me know exactly. I know one of these people, but I will not be benefiting financially from those services. So what are my options?
So a conflict would arise if there was a familiar relationship, whether it's husband, cousin, whatever, that would benefit financially from the situation, or if there's any business which any family member is engaging with any one individual, that would be a conflict, and you would basically have to recuse yourself from the vote.
So I will be recusing myself. And do I need to step out? Do I stay here on the dais?
It would be best to step out of the room for now.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Okay. So discussion, any questions from our board? I have a couple. I'll jump in. Have we worked with any of these
If we can just
companies?
wait one moment until board member
gotcha.
vacates. Thank you.
There's the sound. Have we worked with any of these companies before?
Yes, we have with Dell and Scott.
Okay.
And they were actually the ones that presented in October, that was presented in October.
Right. And this is for just the survey, and then they have the one that has the contract out, and they're more than the survey. They do the messaging and
Correct. So Dragonfly there extends their services into the planning, action, and engagement functions of the, should the board decide to move forward with the bond.
Okay, so they contract with FM3. So FM3 is just the survey portion?
Correct. And then Dragonfly just stated that if they were selected for the research portion, because they offer that, they would subcontract with FM3.
Got it. But the other two or three, they didn't submit anything beyond the survey.
That is correct. The other four, so you have EMC Research, True North, FM3, and Dell and Scott, who are strictly just for the survey portion.
Got it. Okay, and what's the timeline on the bond survey?
So it takes about 2 months once the contract is signed in terms of calling all of the voters and getting all the information, and then they would be presenting back to the board with time frame of the end of March or early April.
Okay, great. Ms. Armstrong, question?
Thank you, President. I'm good. So this is the follow-up, and we really just want to know. We want to just get an idea from the community how they feel about this. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, this is strictly for a voter opinion survey, just to once again gauge the support of the community. It does not commit the board to moving forward with the bond on the proposed ballot. This is just strictly the survey portion. It is not something that is required. However, it is recommended to really gauge the support of the community.
And even regardless, whether the community says yes or no, are we committed to moving forward with the bond?
No.
Okay. Well, I did look at it to where if I had to choose, myself, I would go with True North. Mainly because it has that Zoom presentation, and it's not the least expensive and it's not the most expensive either. And but I kind of like what they're just proposing, and we're going to want to meet them. So that's just my take.
The Zoom is an option there. However, if the board was to choose to actually have them come in person, then it would be an additional $1,500. So that's the option there.
Right. Any other board questions? Dr. Alhassan, any questions on the item?
Yes, I was wondering on the FM3 research, are they going to be independent? Because the ones in regards to Dragonfly, they said they worked with FM research. So is that two separate contracts?
Yes, FM3 would be separately if we just contracted with FM3. If you were to contract with Dragonfly, then they would subcontract out those services to FM3. So they disclose that the subcontractor who they would use for the survey would be FM3. However, if you just go with FM3, that is strictly just them doing the survey.
I see, but the amount that the FM3 quoted would be the same in regards to the subcontract?
So FM3 quoted not to exceed $34,750, and again, that depends on what the board decides in terms of the number of surveys as well as the minutes. Now, under Dragonfly, it's noted that FM3 would do the research. However, they quoted that between $35,000 and $45,000, and again, that's what they're quoting as the subcontractor for it. So it is more than what FM3 put on their proposal themselves.
Right, but there's no numbers of surveys identified with FM3. That's what I was curious about. And also,
I'm sorry, Dr. Sue. FM3 does identify the number of surveys. They do 400 surveys, 15 minutes for $28,000, and then they go up to 515 minutes or 20 minutes, and the highest price there is the $34,750. When it comes to the Dragonfly, where they're subcontracting them, you are correct. They didn't give us a number of survey. However, they did mark the 35 to 45. So you could say that that would be the 400 to 500 surveys.
I see. Oh, I see. I understand now. And in regards to the timeline, because we're just voting on the research, how does that look in regards to breaking it down for it being on the ballot? Like, do we have enough time?
Yes, you would be. Normally, surveys are done between October and January. However, you're not behind in the sense of getting it. It would just have to be before I don't want to give you the wrong date, but I believe it's in June. But I'll get back to you on that exact date.
Thank you, Ms. Holguin. Ms. Armstrong.
I just want to make clear, last time we discussed this, we did, you guys brought out Dell and Scott, right?
Correct.
Yes.
And they are the cheapest. And we're just gauging. And they're,
So I believe the concern earlier on was with Dale and Scott, that they were also handling our previous bond refinancing as well, correct?
Correct.
So through board discussion, we decided it would be good to look at a separate company, kind of go on with this bond without the refinancing. So that's how it came about.
so I was just thinking, if we're just really just gauging the community, we probably really should, even though I do like the Zoom, I do think that we should, since we're just gauging, go with Dell and Scott. But that's just me. But otherwise, I like the other one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
I tend to agree with you on the first one, the True North. I thought that's kind of what I was thinking. So would you like to make a motion?
I'm going to be honest. I mean, there's 5. We can look at all the numbers, but I don't know much about them. I guess I would refer to you guys. Who would you guys recommend? Because you guys are the experts doing this. I'm not.
I would like to hear you guys' recommendation too. And I know you guys recommended Dell and Scott, so let's hear it.
I'm recommending Dale and Scott.
Can you tell us why?
They're in the system already. They're familiar with our practices already. I'm concerned about getting this thing out going right away and not delaying anymore because we should have been polling all through December. We're late, so I'm looking at the efficiency, the cost, and then people who are really familiar with our system.
So I hear that choosing a different one would create an additional delay. Is that right?
I just know that a lot of they're already been in conversation around what we're trying to accomplish here. I think when you survey people, you got to have meetings with us and you guys and other people before you start going out there. So some groundwork has to happen with the new companies to get them organized in order to kind of ask some of the things that we're thinking before they go out.
So how much of a delay if we go with a different company?
I won't be able to, I don't know how much. It may not be. All I'm saying is I just know the processes that are normally involved require them getting to know us and then executing. So I'm just looking at where we are right now, how efficient it is. The conflict of interest concern that you guys had before, companies do this. And that's why Dale was the company that talked about having another proposal that says we're going to have the survey as well as the service. All of these companies do the same thing. It's just one just presented the information. Dale and Scott offered that. I think your concern at that time with Dale and Scott was that how could they do both the survey and also help us implement it. What I'm saying is that's a normal thing.
Right. My question would be if we're worried about the delay, I think this was brought up initially when?
It was the October board meeting.
October, and we're just seeing it again now. So I'm not too worried about the delay, and I don't feel comfortable with Dell and Scott, but that's just my opinion. The communication before and leading up to that meeting, I was not comfortable with, but that's just my opinion. Ms. Stewart, or Ms. Armstrong, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to ask Dr. O'Helson if she had any thoughts after hearing the discussion.
I'm between the Dale and Scott and True North.
I'd like to thank the staff because this is from October. Thank you so much for presenting us with the other 4 companies. At least we know other companies out there. And so at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we enter into a contract with Dell and Scott so that we can get started expeditiously.
Do I have a second?
Oh, do I have a second? You have to ask that.
Yeah.
Do I have a second for the staff to reach out to Dell and Scott and get started expeditiously?
Second.
Roll call.
Student Board Member Lynch,
Aye.
Dr. Alhesson,
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart,
No.
Mr. Critchfield,
No.
I'd like to make a motion that we use True North.
Second. Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Lynch,
Abstain.
Dr. Alhesson,
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart,
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield,
Aye. Motion passes for True North for the bond survey. And moving on to the consent agenda now. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Yeah, we don't have any withheld items. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot. Sorry, Myra. I know. Miss Garza to the dais. Miss Garza to the dais. All right, we're going to try that one more time. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
You have a second. I'm
All right.
getting my buttons mixed up.
Any comments from the board? Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Lynch,
Aye.
Dr. Alhassan,
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong,
Aye.
Mrs. Garza,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart,
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield,
Aye. All right, now we will move on to board communications. Whoever would like to go first, go and tap that button. Miss Armstrong.
I'll go first. I just want to let you, hi everybody, thanks for coming out and happy February, Valentine's Day, National Tooth Day, you know, and of course, Tooth Month and Valentine's Day, Groundhog Day, but most of all, Black History Month. Okay, so but anyway, what I did within the last 2 weeks is that I was a judge at a academic decathlon with LACO. So I was in San Gabriel High School, and I got a chance, the privilege, to judge 20 students on 2 speeches. They had a prepared speech in which they had to deliver their speech however they wanted to be, dramatic or whatever, in 4 minutes. And then after that, they had to prepare. They had 1 minute to select and prepare an impromptu speech. So we gave them a sheet, and they had to choose between the 3 topics, and then they had 2 minutes to deliver that speech. And I tell you, I haven't been a judge in a long time in a speech competition, and I was just so impressed and saying to myself, wow, I don't know if I could do that, you know, because it's so much pressure. But boy, we have some students out there that are really, really good, articulate, using, words to communicate. Like the good words, you know what I'm talking about. But I really enjoyed myself. And they fed us in and out too. So, and then I attended the Lakewood State of the City. Lakewood's very proud, proud city. We all are. And the highlight of that event is that I took a picture with Woody. So if you know Lakewood, you know Woody. So, and then I want to reflect on the board retreat that we had, where we were sitting down with all of the principals and their teams. It was a treat, and I had the opportunity to listen to each principal as they reported on the state of their school regarding their students' performance. So the data was shared, and 100% of the principals, told me like, wow, I didn't know what to expect. They were kind of shaky, didn't know where this was going, but 100% of them said that they are so glad that they went through this process, and they are really looking forward to continuing this so that they can track the improvement and progress of our students. And that data really means something. As you see, we went through data tonight, and now our principals really, really know without a doubt what they need to focus on at their site. So I want to thank the principals for that, and that's it. That's my board report.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Ms. Stewart.
Good evening. On January 22nd, I attended my first LACSTA meeting via Zoom. LACSTA is the LA County School Trustee Association, and I was there with my colleague, Ms. Armstrong. We had presentations on AI and ChatGPT and other technology, and it was just really a cool meeting to be able to listen to other board members and to be able to hear things that they use in their district. So it was my first meeting, and I think I'm really going to enjoy being on that committee. On the 23rd, I attended Navigation Night at Bellflower High School with President Critchfield. It's always nice talking to some of our students, families, our teachers, admin, going back to my alumni, so that was a great time. On January 24th, I attended the CTA Southeastern Dinner with our Bellflower Teacher Association members, our president, Carrie McDaniels, and others, and that was great. On the 25th, I attended the board retreat. I also really enjoyed that. I told Dr. Jati, I think that was the best meeting I've been in as a part of this board. I'm a data person, so I really enjoyed the principals and the staff presenting their data and their plans. It was just nice to connect with our administrators and listen to their wins, their challenges, their future plans, their areas of need. I think it just gave me a better idea of where our district is site to site, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great way to do it. On 126, I met with our CSEA president and her colleagues. We talked about, and they helped educate me on the Personnel Commission and how we utilize that in our district for our CSEA employees. On 128, I attended the Mayfair Girls Flag Football Banquet. Just an awesome night. One of the parents invited us, President Critchfield and I, we went to celebrate them. That was just really cool. They won the league championship, and so it was nice to see their individual awards and to just congratulate them as well. On 1:30, I attended the Alliance meeting. Our topic was safety. On February 1st, I attended the Mayfair production of Little Shop of Horrors. And I could go on and on. You guys have no idea. They are so amazing. But once again, I just cannot say enough great things about Mr. Saunders and his staff. Kylie Tompkins, if you don't know who she is, she's a superstar in training. You're going to hear her name in Hollywood at some point, I guarantee. And I can't wait. She's a junior, so I can't wait to see her next year as a senior. She's just so amazing. The entire cast, they just did a great job. Mr. Fong did an amazing job. It's so fun to go there. Every year I go with a group of friends from Lindstrom, and just their production was great. And so I just applaud them. They do such a great job. Everything was amazing. Today I attended a strategic planning meeting at my school district. It was just a really cool experience. I just wanted to explain. We had 6 tables of 5 different people. We had teachers, parents, administrators, district superintendents, everyone there, and it was led by a company, and it was amazing. And it just reminded me that when you get so many great people in a room collaborating, just the results you get. It was just fabulous. We looked at our vision and our mission statement. We're going to go over it. I have another one tomorrow. We're going to align that strategic plan with our LCAP. And it just was really awesome to see. And I just really liked being a part of it. And I guess my emphasis on that is just the collaboration piece, I think, is so important, and talking with others, because you just produce great results when you get lots of ideas from different people. Lastly, I would like to, on a future agenda, put on the revision of Board Policy 3350, travel expenses. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to Dr. Rios. 25 years in our district, that's a tough loss. And I thought she was a great leader. I enjoyed visiting her school site. I thought the climate and culture at her school was great. And I wish her better things, but it's sad for me to lose people that we've had in our district for so long. So I just want to say thank you so much for everything she's done in her 25 years, and wish her good luck on her next endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Dr. Sue, would you like to go? Or Ms. Garza?
if Ms. Garza wants to go ahead, that's fine.
No, go for it.
Okay. Well, it was a busy month for me also. I attended Somerset's Back to School, or they call it, and it was a great night. Principal Higgins has actually created a new engagement for parents to, it's like a resource center, which I think is a great idea for parents, staff, to engage, get information, just to create more engagement with Somerset High School, the students and the teachers. I was happy to be part of the tour with Congressman Robert Garcia, where we highlighted a lot of the STEM education and resources that we have offered, especially through CTE. I also benefited a lot from the board retreat that we did in regards to creating our board governance handbook. I definitely agree with my fellow board members in regards to being able to be part of the board study session with our principals and looking at the data across different sites and really examining how we as a board can look at, as a team, with our sites and closing the achievement gap among many of our grades, across grades, and among our socioeconomic group, our students with disabilities, as well as our different ethnic backgrounds. I also attended a webinar on AI for K through 12 and how basically to engage students in the creation of ideas through AI and to support teachers on how to do their job better, which I thought was really interesting. I also attended a webinar on Crisis Ready in regards to communication during and after a crisis that was put on by CSCA. Is everyone hearing me okay? Because I'm getting some feedback.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Also, in honor of Black History Month, I wanted to quote a poem by Amanda Gorman, who is one who spoke at President Biden's inauguration. And it's basically the poem that The Hill We Climb. And I'm not going to read all of it, but there were some key points that really resonated with me. And the poem starts as, so we lift our gazes, not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. The promised glade, the hill we climb. If only we dare it. Because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the path we step into and how we repair it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alhassan. Ms. Garza.
Thank you, President Critchfield. I also attended the board retreat and the special meetings, data talks with the principals. I agree that those both were very, I think it's inspiring that we have so much positivity going on and that our principals are invigorated taking on this new challenge. Aside from that, I try to kind of lay low for January, but I am ready and energized to be back out there in February. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. As for my report, I mean, when you go last, everyone's already said all the events. I mean, I could go through the list again, but what's cool is since the last board meeting, I went to an event with every single one of my colleagues, and I think that's pretty cool. Dr. Hassan mentioned the Robert Garcia visit to Mayfair. That was a really great thing. And then all the other ones that they mentioned. I will say I'm super stoked about Saturday's CIF championship for Mayfair High. I feel for the girls wrestling team. And I know how hard they worked, and in being a wrestler myself, I know how much you put into that sport. So I know things we put in place where that never happens again. But I do want to say thank you to all of the wrestlers and the coaching staff. Coach Eby does amazing things with those students, and he has created a really amazing program over there. And they're going to be wrestling this Saturday for CIF individual championships, and I'll be there, and I'm really looking forward to that. I have a bunch more that I could say, but I'll save some of it for the next meeting. But of course I didn't forget. Give me that look like I forgot. Student board member.
Yeah, I would just say that with the STEAM building, we've been having some trouble. Like, the students still can't go in there when they're not in class. So it's been a problem during these rainy days because students are just trying to find like shelter in the hallways when the perfectly good STEAM building is there, but we can't be inside it yet. So there's just that issue of maybe finding security or just finding a way that it can be usable, because a lot of the stuff, it just hasn't been used yet.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch. Ms. Stewart.
Sorry, one more thing I wanted to add. I just wanted to say congratulations to all of our athletes for National Signing Day. I know Bellflower had a football player. They haven't signed someone in 17 years, so that was really special seeing their signing day celebrations. And congratulations to all of our Mayfair athletes that signed yesterday as well. Thank you.
And last thing I'll say before we move on to informational items is I just want to acknowledge all the work from a staff that go into these meetings. I know we have a lot of them, and they can be very long, and I'm hoping in the very near future you'll find other ways to spend your Thursday nights, at least some of them. But that's something we're working towards. But I thank you for the effort on getting Dr. Hesson some communications, and all of you for putting these board meetings on. It's a lot of work. Trust me, I work the board meetings at Long Beach City College. I know how much work can go into it. So thank you. With that, we'll move on to informational items. Does the board have any questions on our informational items this evening? You're giving me that look again. No? Okay. All right, hearing none, we will now recess to closed session at 7:14, and there will be no further action taken in open session. Thank you all. Board will now reconvene in open session. Board clerk will report out.
The topics discussed in closed session were public employee discipline dismissal release, anticipated litigation, labor negotiations, personnel superintendent's evaluation and performance. The board has directed the general counsel to engage in a contract settlement and termination with the superintendent. Votes in favor were 3 ayes, President Critchfield, Vice President Stewart, Clerk Garza, 1 no vote, Board Member Armstrong, 1 abstention, Board Member Alhassan.
The meeting is now adjourned.